Step right up, step right up. Welcome to Steffoodle. I, Steph, will be your guide through this magnificent act. After the show is over, please remain in your seats and enjoy the rest of the haunted circus, filled with acts bound to amaze, delight, and perhaps even terrify. For now, though, please enjoy the creation and destruction of Coppélia the Automaton. I've had this Monster High G1 Dracubecca in my stock box for years now. I cleaned her up a long time ago for a custom idea I had, but now can't remember. Ah well, all the better for this project. Her sculpt is beautiful, and I didn't even notice until I filmed this that all of her rivets are little hearts. Like, how cute is that? I'm starting with the clothing again this time. First, her blouse. I hacked a couple of patterns together for it. I'll first sew the darts, then attach the front and back pieces at the shoulders. Next, I hemmed the collar piece with hem tape. Then I sewed on a length of black ribbon close to the edge. Now I can gather down the collar and attach it to the bodice. I did end up shortening it a bit. I was a little overzealous with the length, it turns out. The cuffs of the sleeves are two pieces that are sewn together, then folded to create a clean edge. I gather down the puff sleeves and attach them to the cuffs. Then I gathered the tops of the sleeves and attached them to the bodice. Now I can close up the side seams, including the sleeves. After I turn the blouse right side out, which was no small feat, I'll hem the bottom and attach a snap closure. I glue gold gems to the sleeve cuffs to look like buttons. And now the blouse is done. On to the shorts. This too is a couple of patterns I cobbled together and altered. I'll start by attaching the front and back pieces together at the side seams, sandwiching this gold lace ribbon in between. Then I hem the cuffs along the bottom. Now I can gather down the leg pieces and attach them to the cuffs. Next, I attach both leg pieces together at the center seam. I sew the waistband pieces together and top stitch the seams. After that, I hem the top of the waistband. And now I can attach the waistband to the shorts. Then I fold them over and stitch up the back seam partway, leaving room for a closure. Finally, I sew up the inseam and add 2 snaps for closure in the back. I also add a bit of fabric glue under the ribbon to help keep it in place when posing the doll. To add a bit more detail, I glued 2 white pom-poms to the waistband. And with that, these fancy shorts are done. And here's a pattern I didn't alter or remix. Poulpe on Ciel's knee-high socks. I used material from a pair of tights and hem the tops with hem tape. I sew up the back seam. Then I sew the toe seam. After I flipped them right side out and tried them on the doll, I decided to add tiny black ribbon bows to the sides. Now shoes. I did try making Warbler shoes again and failed again, so I found these in my stock box. I remembered that the sneakers from the Disney Comfy Princess Anna fit a Monster High doll in my Etoile video, so I stole Elsa's slippers and they don't quite fit, but at least they don't fall off, so we're using them. I paint the shoes black. Then I paint the soles gold, which took a lot more layers than I thought it would. I sealed them in with matte Mod Podge. Then I glued on some white pom-poms to match the shorts. Since the outfit very much has Pierrot vibes, I decided to make her a hat with Warbler. I took a metal piping tip that I had laying around, I attach it to a popsicle stick and cover it in masking tape so that the warbler doesn't stick to it. I heat up the warbler with my hairdryer and wrap it around the piping tip. I snip off the top and heat it up again to mold it into more of a rounded shape. Once cooled, I remove the warbler cone and trim the edge to neaten it up. Then I add another strip of warbler for the brim. After I'm happy with the shape and it's cool, I go over it with black paint. Even though this is black warbler, it still kind of looks more dark gray. Then I seal it in with matte Mod Podge. And for the final touch, I glue on a couple more white pom-poms. I'll attach the hat to her head with pins later. I decided to bring out some of the detail on the body, mostly in the lower legs because the socks are sheer, as well as the end of the forearms and around her neck. After spraying the body with a couple of coats of Mr. Super Clear UV Cut Flat, waiting 30 minutes in between each layer, I paint the panel lines with metallic pink watercolor pencil. Once dry, I shade the lines and around the rivets with magenta Pan Pastel. After another coat of MSC, I pick out the rivets with gold acrylic paint. I repeat this process for her hands. This really is a very pretty face sculpt, isn't it? Would be a shame if something happened to it. In all seriousness though, this is the part that I've been putting off as it's the most risky. I want to give her an inset eye, you heard me right, singular, just one eye, and a big crack on the other side of her face that will have an insert behind it with gears and wires. First, I'll need to cut out a head cap. I draw myself a guideline with a paint pen, and then cut along the line, trying to cut at an angle so it's easier to fit the pieces back together later. Then I begin to carve out her eye socket. I didn't really have a feel for it since I've never done this before, and despite my best efforts, I ended up cutting it too big. But that's fine. I'll just make the crack beyond that side instead. I carefully carved out the eye socket on the other side to much more success. And then my camera battery died while I was working on the cracked side. Oh well, here's what she looks like now though. Before I go any further, I need to reattach the head to the body. I'll need all the room I can get in there, so I trim down the neck peg. I heat up the head with my hairdryer to soften the vinyl and squish it onto the neck peg. I need to make a base for the insert that will go behind the crack in her face. I'll be using Worbla, but I don't want it to be stuck inside there just yet, so I add a layer of masking tape on the inside of the head around the crack. I heat up the Worbla and shape it into a recess with my fingers. I cut it down into an oval, reheat it, and place it in the head, using a popsicle stick to help mold it to the inside of the head. Once it's done and cooled, I remove the tape and fit it into the head just to see what it looks like. And it looks good! I gave the head 2 coats of MSC. I paint the area inside the head around the crack black, taking care not to cover the registration marks that I made off camera. That'll make sure I put that insert in the right place. Then I paint her face panel white. It takes a few layers to get it to be opaque. Then I begin sketching out her features with a gold watercolor pencil. I also start to add blush with light pink Pan Pastel. This face-up felt a little similar to my Annabelle one, in that it was kind of a simple design but required some patience and precision. I also kind of think it's funny that both my Halloween dolls are some form of haunted doll in a way. That was completely unintentional on my part, but hey, I guess we have a theme. Also, this is the first clown face-up I've ever done. I really want to make a more colorful one in the future. Some white highlights really make the details pop. And I love a heart-shaped nose highlight. Just a subtle dusting of gold sparkle and the face-up is done. Let's return back to the insert. I paint it with my super matte black paint, then I seal it with Mod Podge before adding another layer of the paint just to get it that darker black again. Then I begin gluing in pieces of copper wire and some tiny gears, layering them to make it look like there's a bunch of inner workings in there. Since the teeny tiniest gear I have is silver, I paint it gold with a Posca pen. I place the insert into the head, lining up the registration marks as best I can, and secure it with a generous amount of hot glue. She still needs an eye. I made several bases out of UV resin mixed with white and pearl white pigment, as well as some blue glow-in-the-dark powder. I use a pin to make sure I get the resin into the crevices of the mold before filling in the rest. Then I pop them under my UV lamp. After demolding, I popped them under the lamp again just to show you how powerful the glow is, even with my ring light on. I had a difficult time with acrylic paint, so I ended up coloring in the irises with a base of black Posca pen for most of them, and did a couple in brown topped with a layer of gold. Then I used a couple of different shades of gold acrylic paint as well as a pearl red to make a few different eye options. Once I'm happy with them, I add a dab of UV resin and place a black gem to act as a pupil. I used a skewer to push the gems around and make sure they were centered. Then I secured them in place by curing the resin under my UV lamp. I add more clear resin and dust on some gold mica powder on top and cure them again. Then I add a final dome of resin and cure that under the lamp. And the eyes are done. I ended up choosing this one as I thought it looked the best. I used some white blue tack to secure it into the head. And now I can finally glue the head cap back on. Off camera, I painted her scalp and made some golden colored wefts for her out of yarn. I began gluing them around the hairline, then fill in the rest, creating a center part on top. And for my next trick, boom! It's cut and styled with black ribbons. So now we have the doll, her fancy shorts, her blouse, her socks, her shoes, and her hat. And all that's left to do is get her dressed and she's done. I ended up landing on the name Coppélia because it's the name of a certain ballet, which I haven't seen but I know the story of, and I think it's pretty appropriate. If you know, you know. What do you think of our little broken automaton? Would you be her friend? She's so lonely. And should I make a more colorful clown doll in the future? Let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget to catch the other acts in this haunted circus, spread across both the YouTube Big Top and the Instagram Carnival. Diamondza Craft, our host and ringmaster, Lemon Kitten Creations, Nerdy Capybara, Lady Dynamite Creates, Biene Babies, Sandrine, the South Paw Dolly, Doll Party, Bonequices by Nuno, Wizingotta, Krystal Dolls, Lacey's Creations, Noodle Toots, Bohopunkz Creations, Catmeleon Studio, Electric Bunny, Stitchwyck Creations, and Muni Bayo. All of their links will be down in the description below. Everyone did an absolutely outstanding job. Our circus looks amazing. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and click the bell icon and turn on all notifications so you'll know whenever I post a new video. All of my socials will be listed down below. I'm most active on Instagram. And if you really like what I do and you want to buy me a coffee or help me afford more supplies, you can find a link to my Ko-fi tip jar in the description below, or you can click the super thanks button right below this video. And until next time, bye!